If we had access to massive amount of energy, I think as a civilization we will be something else. So everything matters, and also everything doesn't matter in a way. So I'm happy that we can go out and do wild things.
On the Expressions podcast today, we are joined by Vivekananda Hallekere from Bounce Bikes. As the co-founder of one of India's most disruptive transportation startups, Vivek has helped reshape how millions commute. From launching India's first keyless scooter sharing service to building a battery swapping ecosystem, he's been pushing the boundaries of what's possible in sustainable transport. We talk about the future of mobility, innovation at scale, and the grit behind building category-defining startups.
Hi Vivek, welcome
there.
to the Expressions podcast. Thanks for taking time to chat with us. So let's just hop in now.
Yes.
Looking back at your childhood and early years, was there any sort of experience that sparked your interest in entrepreneurship on mobility?
The only memory I have of school and doing something on our own was the science exhibition that we used to make models for and everything. That was one interesting time where we had to mobilize things, figure out what to build for, what will be excited for the judges, etc. All of that. So those are pre-internet days, right? And I come from a place called Hassan.
Okay.
So also getting things is a challenge, right? As in we would read something in the book, but you can't actually go and get all of those things, kind of
Absolutely.
thing. That was one interesting time. I think also I come from a family where we talk a lot about business, etc. All of that. So I think that was always there in the back of the mind. But I think the jump from KPMG to my own practice happened because I felt KPMG or any Big Four is a tenure based way of scaling, right? And I was like a little impatient. So I thought I can't give another 10, 12 years to get to a stage, right? So that's where I think I started thinking about quitting, starting my own. I started my CA practice with a friend of mine called Suchindra.
Okay.
And that's how the jump happened. And from there, we were thinking on ideas that will get us excited. See, the problem is that till you get to a particular stage, you actually don't know what is to be a particular in profession, right? For example, someone told us that you be a chartered accountant, your life will be sorted, right? Okay, let me do that. Probably it sounds interesting types. And we didn't know, at least I didn't know what a CA would do when I started taking up CA, right? As in I had broad idea. I didn't know how a life of a CA would be, etc. Very quickly realized that it's a very monotonous thing, right? So then you realize over a period of time that what is that you really love to do, and I think it's just following what gets you excited. So I think that's been the reason on how I ended up doing what I do today. So
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And what about your early research? Was it on two-wheeler transportation system? And can you break down any main points of your research for us?
So one thing which was very a pain that I used to go through. So I came to Bangalore to do my college, etc. So I used to stay in a hostel in Vivekananda, get to Vijaya College in RV Road. The journey was broken. One, also buses are always crowded. The timings are not there, etc. All of that. That was a known thing, but we were okay with it. Whenever I had to go back to my hometown during festival season, it was ridiculously tough. As in getting into Majestic and Majestic to out was massive number of hours, and it was a pain to go to hometown during the most important festivals, right? Like Ganesha festival, all of that used to be such a pain.
Yeah.
So that's when I used to think carpooling should have existed at scale. So, and over a period of time, there were like offline WhatsApp groups where we used to pool and go. We used to figure out who is going from where to where.
Yeah.
Always used to wonder, there are so many empty seats in the car, and the buses are always crowded, right? So carpooling was always of a big interest for me. So I used to always think on why does carpooling work or not work? What have been the learnings from outside who all have tried on carpooling? I think even on intra-city commute, I feel that we all choose cars most of the times because it's convenient, right? And probably public transport doesn't exist the way it should, right? So first mile, last mile on public transport is broken. No proper walking paths once you get down, even if it's a 2 kilometer walk. It's a very hard, risky one most of the times, right? Unless you're in the specific parts of the city. So I think intra-city commute, one is traffic congestion, which happens because we all take our personal vehicles. And it's also actually boring. One, you have to solve for removing the vehicles off the road. But at least till then, how can you make the commute interesting is always fascinated us. So pre-COVID, we were actually building a carpool while we scaled bound share, etc. We were building interest-based carpool where you could probably, we called it bounce hitch then. You can hitch a ride of similar interest, and that interest can keep changing. So let's say today you want to talk about cricket, and the app will pool you with another fellow passenger who wants to talk about cricket.
How interesting.
And and we had built the app in such a way that the ice breaking can happen even before the ride.
Okay.
So that we know more about the person and the other person, and we give hints on, hey, probably you can have conversation about poker or who is the best captain, etc. All of that, right? So that's something which still fascinates me, saying that if you can make intra-city commute more interesting, probably pool, where again by default you're removing more vehicles from the road. So those are things that we have done, thought about, spent a lot of time over a period of time. But when we started Bounce Share, the idea was that cycle sharing across the globe had worked only in New York City bikes and some Chinese programs. The Washington DC program was a failure. And we went very deep on understanding why. The biggest learning that we had is that in Washington DC program particularly, right, the research showed that the number of docks becomes a variable. So if the cycle sharing program, the Washington DC program, just to break it down how it works, you pick up a cycle from a dock and you have to leave it in a particular dock.
Yes.
So the problem is that now there are two variables, right? In terms of one is cycle availability and the second one is the parking slot availability. By the time you reach that particular destination and if the dock is filled, you have to now go looking for another dock. So you're always limited by the space in the dock and availability of space, which again brings in uncertainty for users, which again have an impact on should I pick it up or not? What if I don't find a dock? Oh, again I have to find another dock. It adds to my commute time, etc. Right? So one of the earlier learnings was, why did dock exist? The reason dock was done 50 or 100 years ago was because the cycles could not be smarter. The docks were smarter so that you can secure the asset, right? So we were like, Varun, my co-founder, he was like, see, the biggest problem is the dock. We are trying to make the dock smarter. We can actually make the vehicle smarter now, the IoT and the tech, the kind of things, the way it has evolved. You can make the vehicle smarter and the docks dumb. If you make the docks dumb, anything can be a dock, as in you can leave it anywhere, right? So from day one, we were very clear that we would not do bike taxi, which always needs another fellow driver, which means you're bottlenecked by the number of riders you can get. And we always felt that the drivers will be the most sought after people. Then it was Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra probably, but we knew that delivery person or a person who can be on a two-wheeler will be the most sought after person and will be auctioned, right? So we felt that if a consumer can ride, in India we are blessed with that, right? Everyone knows how to ride, has a license. And if the vehicle can be smart and no docks, then we are essentially recreating your own personal vehicle, but it's shared, right? It's like the same Honda Activa, which ideally, in the usual way, you buy it, you keep it parked for entire 22 hours of a day, and 2 hours you probably use it, right, on a best case basis. Here, the idea is that you use the same two-wheeler, but multiple people will share the asset in a single day, which means the math works out really well. You have to recover the principal portion of the vehicle and the depreciation and the fuel, and it should make sense, right? And if you have enough vehicles on the road, it should solve for itself. We actually went very deep because not having a driver means there is a rebalancing cost. And rebalancing cost for a two-wheeler, how will you rebalance them? Again, you can't have people. If you have trucks, the cost of trucks are very expensive. And what is the cost of dry runs was a very big question mark in our minds. Can we keep 40% as dry runs? We had read somewhere that Uber, 2/3 of it was probably dry run kilometers that they were doing, right? So I think 1/3 or so was dry run kilometers. So we had some benchmark saying that, okay, this is what it looks in a taxi. But now how do we do this? And how do we choose whether to do a ride or not? But very quickly we figured that, again, as a country, right, we are pretty much blessed in something called as polycentric nature of the cities, which means that we don't have an uptown, downtown culture, right? We don't have demarcated residential areas and demarcated commercial areas, right? We have offices, homes, schools, everything mixed across the city, right? And also India being a city where it's not just office goers, right? Because we did not evolve as a country with industries and factories, right? The industries and factories means that everyone depends on a particular industry, which means that they work from 9 to 5 or whatever number of hours and come back, right? But India is mostly self-employed folks, a lot of small businesses, a lot of small enterprises, which meant that people will move throughout the day in all directions, which was great for us, saying that now you might not need rebalancing. Rebalancing is required when everyone moves from one direction to another in the particular point of the time in the day and again come back. So we felt that India is like blessed to build a sharing business. People know how to ride two-wheelers, they have licenses, there are gasoline companies, like bunch of scooters, insurance is sorted, technology, we knew how to make it work, and polycentric nature of the cities, which is great for economics. We felt that we should give it a shot. It's going to be a very hard business, but if we do it well, it's going to be a big thing, right? As in people can stop buying their vehicles. Our idea was that, let's say if we put 1 million scooters for Bangalore, I read that there are 10 million two-wheelers in Bangalore. If you put 1 million scooters, probably you don't need another two-wheeler for the city types, right? So that was the idea with which we started in the research.
And how did you come up with Bounce?
The motorcycle rental business we started was called as Wicked Ride, right? So we thought we'll call the commuter class thing as Apna Ride, as in everyone's ride.
Okay.
We had just bid for the metro stations, parking spaces, etc. All that. Then we created the Twitter handle and we saw few people asking, saying that why are you calling it Apna Ride? Then we thought, okay, very quickly we'll not use a Hindi name. Probably we'll call it an English, which everyone is okay with. So we called it Metro Bikes because we were at metro station. It was a very quick decision to call it Metro Bikes. When we were just raising our Series A with Axel and Sequoia, what we decided is that Metro Bikes is very has a specific understanding based on what people think, right? If someone is coming from outside India, bikes as in they think it's cycles, right? And metro as in, is it metro cities? Is it metro stations? So we thought we want to clear all of those things away and have a generic term, which means probably move. We thought of many names and finally we called it bounce because people say let's bounce, right? Whenever you want to move from point A to point B, they say bounce. I don't know who suggested, but we had such a long list of names and we were so tired of figuring out what to call it. It used to happen that we liked something, but someone had a trademark for that. We really wanted to call it GoGo, as in we had an agency. These folks came up with a very nice idea saying that let's call it GoGo, just GoGo, right? You want to go from Kormangala to Indira, just GoGo, and everything was looking great. But there was one travel company in Mumbai called GoGo, so we couldn't call it GoGo then.
And from launching Wicked Ride in 2014 to Bounce in 2016, what were the pivotal moments that led you to shift from premium bike rentals, luxury bike rentals to mass urban mobility?
So, see, Wicked Ride started off as an experiment, right? It was not thought to be built out as a large company or anything. I was telling you about the carpool, right? One of the things which I was always fascinated about was BMW cars. And I felt that it will take a long time to own it. Why can't we do timeshare, right? As in 4 or 5 of us will come buy it, we'll pay the EMIs and rent it out for like 15-20 days. So that in a way the rental pays for itself and we get to probably have the car for 3-4 days free of cost, right? That was the thinking. We realized that you need 100 cars to do rent a car cap kind of scheme, right? So one thing led to another. Anil wanted to buy a Royal Enfield.
Yeah, I read
and that story got us thinking more about rentals, etc. All that. We saw that many rental companies don't exist. So we thought, okay, we'll try with one motorcycle, make a Facebook page, we'll share the EMIs. If things work out, great. Otherwise, we will probably use it or sell it off, right? That was the idea. That's how we started as an experiment. Very quickly, it had scaled to a big business by itself, right? So we started scaling. I think at peak, we had like 800 big motorcycles, like Harley Davidsons of the world, Ducati. We were one of the largest buyers of Harley Davidson in India. Also, what happens with businesses is that it gets you sucked in, right? And you won't have time to think, and it's an operational heavy business. You get so involved and you always think about how do you scale it, the problems, etc., all of that, but you never think, why should we even do this, right? So we were fortunate that Funny from Redbus, someone connected us to Funny from Redbus and he had come to office. He asked us a bunch of questions, why are you guys doing this? Are you like passionate about like big motorcycles, etc., all of that? We said, no, we started and it's working and we are doing this. He's like, you know that this will always be a niche and it can't be a very large business. So if you're not very passionate about this, and if you want to build big businesses, it's okay to shut it down, right? And think of something altogether. He was asking us why not scooters, etc. We said we have thought through, the math doesn't work out. If you have to think with the Honda Activa, the rentals you charge is so less the human cost, real estate cost just doesn't make sense. And this was there, and there were some bicycle tenders which were going around in the city. So we thought we'll do cycle sharing for India, work with a larger company where we solve for the tender guidelines. Somehow, I think it was very accidental that government was auctioning, as in calling for tenders for Pune cycle sharing or something of that sort. We spent some time. That's when we did a lot of research on cycle sharing and everything. The dock and dockless system that I was talking about, we wanted to do it for cycles first. We were like, how do you compete with the biggest of the guys? Each cycle was, the usual tender price for the lowest bid for a cycle was 38,000 because the locking mechanism. It was being imported from Germany or somewhere. The entire dock station cycle was probably 5,000 bucks. Each dock station was 25,000 bucks or so, right? We were like, if we have to win that, we have to think very differently. And that's how the Varun's idea of making cycle smarter and no docks came in. And we asked our question again. We had one fundamental question: why are we doing this again, right? If we don't believe that we will cycle in the cities, can't live on cycling today, why are we even spending time there? So we said we will not do that. And that's when we kind of came across saying that, okay, the math was not working out on scooters, but everything is great if we do the same cycle sharing without docks on Honda Activas. That's how the thing happened, right? So I think Funny helped us. He came to our office and asked us very tough questions. So we kept a 30-day deadline saying that either we'll figure this out or we'll shut it down kind of thing. So after that, there's been no looking back. We just doubled down on how to make it work and fundamentally thought about how will the business make sense, what is the initial capital that you need, and probably you got to break even and you got to scale organically is how we were thinking. Again, Sequoia had called us back in the days asking if you want to scale for Wicked Ride and if you're looking for capital. By then we had decided this, saying that we don't want to scale that. So Sequoia's inbound call, I think that was a very pivotal time for us where they reached out, and by then we had decided that this is what we want to scale. We also participated in a mobility challenge. We thought it'll give us a 2 crore kind of grant. It turned out to be some 13 lakhs. We gave 5-7 days, but we spent quite a bit of time on 13 lakhs. We put it on the keyless systems. Okay. That was a very pivotal time, and we got our one sizable investor called LG Chandrasekhar. At this particular time, he gave us 10 crores to scale. That changed everything. And then I think the first VCs who took bet on us was also a very tough bet for them because we are not pedigree founders and wanting to do something which there was no Western comparable, right? So why don't scooter sharing work while there was city bikes, but we wanted to do this. So I think it was a big bet for Axel and Sequoia to go out, write a $10 million Series A check for us, right? Without having launched a scooter sharing, but it was just a thought, the tech being there and thesis being there. So I think that changed everything. From then, we just scaled. I think we got money sometime in June 2018. The IoT working took time. Once it started working, in 6 months, we deployed close to about 20,000 scooters in Bangalore. So it was fun times. Yeah.
Bounce has also shifted its focus from point-to-point rentals to long-term rentals.
Yeah, now.
So they're no longer hourly.
So 2018 onwards, when we started scooter sharing, till 2022 we did scooter sharing, wherein you can pick up anywhere, drop anywhere, no minimum duration, no minimum kilometers. You don't have to come back to the same place where you took the vehicle. You can leave it in any legal parking. So we scaled that to about 20,000, 30,000 scooters between Bangalore and Hyderabad, doing about 100,000 rides a day. COVID was the biggest hurdle for us. When COVID hit, people were not moving around, and I don't know if people now remember COVID days, but there were multiple waves which were coming. It was not very clear on when it was going to end. For us, from a company point of view, the biggest challenge was the scooters are out there. Every time there is a wave, we have to keep the scooter safe, which means that we have to bring it back. Find places to keep like 20,000 scooters, right? There is one YouTube video on bounce vehicle parked in a farm. We used to rent farmlands outside the city to park our vehicles because we had never visualized 20,000 vehicles to be kept on parked, right? It was always on the road. That's the thesis. And it used to look like a sea of vehicles. Just even 400 vehicles together, it looks like a sea of vehicles. So COVID was the biggest challenge for us. So what we decided then was to sell off all the gasoline scooters. By then, we had experimented on electric scooters. We had built one electric scooter using an engineering firm. We had tried existing scooters in the market. We had built a battery swapping infra. We had 1,000 scooters. We clearly knew that EV makes sense. We had a comparable on fuel scooters versus this electric scooter, making life very easy. But the question was that you need a very good electric scooter, otherwise the solution won't. And there were no good electric scooter manufacturers then. which made sense for us, like removable batteries, high quality scooters, TCO. So during COVID, we decided to shut down, sell off all the gasoline scooters. And when the COVID wave goes back, we will start with only EV only kind of thing, right? So after the first wave, we started with electric scooters. We bought electric scooters from the market. There was a electric scooter that we had gotten done. So we deployed 1,000 scooters of that. We took it close to about 1/3 of the scale previously during COVID itself. But 2022, we decided that we will stop scooter sharing for now. By then, we had acquired a EV OEM because it made sense for us to have our own electric scooter. We decided to scale the scooter selling business, as we will sell scooters, which was very much against our thesis, saying that we want to remove scooters from the road, right? But we decided that given where we were, there was not much of capital available for scooter sharing businesses globally. The Bird and Lime had shut down, Ofo Mobiles had shut down in China. Uber was listed but was not doing great. So any investor was not thinking about putting money in mobility at all, right? So we decided, okay, we have a great scooter and a battery swapping infra, which we had built for scooter sharing. If we can sell the scooter without the battery, and we tell consumers to pay for the battery per kilometer. That was the USP why we decided, saying that we were the only folks having a battery swapping infra and a scooter, which we could sell to consumers from a consumer point of view. A scooter without battery, probably we were pricing it like 50,000-60,000, which is like half the price of a new gasoline scooter. And the kilometer for battery swapping, we want to charge a rupee per kilometer, which is like 1/3 of what you spend for fuel. So which meant that 50% saving on upfront, 1/3 saving on every time you ride, right? It's a great proposition. We started with that. Government increased the subsidies. When all of this was happening, government, this made sense because subsidies were not much larger. And this was a true innovation on how you reduce the cost of the vehicle, cost of running, etc. But government took the subsidies from, I think it was 10,000-15,000 to 65,000. And government incentivized having larger batteries, not smarter batteries or anything else, right? And there was no subsidy for battery swapping. So we continued selling, but with removable battery being the USP, you could take the battery anywhere, plug it to any plug point and charge. And even today, most of the scooter, other than Hero, I think, comes with fixed batteries. So our USP was that people who want to save money, probably they always don't have a parking space with a plug point. So removable batteries make sense. Because our batteries were removable because of swapping, we started selling those scooters. So about 4-5 months back, we started rentals again. But this time we have started from gig workers. The scooters that we make, we rent it out to gig workers. They come with battery swapping. Because we don't have our own swapping network now, we work with bunch of swapping operators. And it's deeply integrated, etc. For a gig worker, we have an app where a rider comes, does the KYC, etc., rents the scooter for 3 days, 7 days, 15 or 1 month, pays in advance, and starts using the scooter. The reason we are doing it for gig workers is they do the highest number of kilometers per day. A typical gig worker does bare minimum 90 to 120 kilometers a day, right? On a gasoline scooter, they spend at least 300 rupees to 350 rupees every day on fuel. This math, our pricing is like anywhere from 230 to 280. Covers everything, the scooter, insurance, energy, all of that. So even if a gig worker has somehow bought his own petrol scooter, it makes sense for him to park that vehicle and save every day about $70 by using bounce, right? Even at the highest rate that we charge. And if you see the gig economy, right, most of these are migrant workers, and the biggest unlock is the vehicle, right? If you have a vehicle now, you could earn a livelihood out of it. So the idea is that we solve for the vehicle. The gig worker can rent the vehicle, earn his livelihood, and eventually plan to own this vehicle or any other vehicle, right? So that's the business case with which we are going. We come with a large fleet operations expertise. We have managed very complex ops. It's our own scooter. And it makes absolute sense for a gig worker, right? Which means we don't need any marketing dollars. It's solved for, right? So we're going with the lowest hanging fruit with a very strong asset and our fleet experience. So we want to scale this to a particular number, but our love is always towards scooter sharing and doing the crazy things like that, right? So we will start scooter sharing at some point in time.
What differentiates Bounce EV infrastructure approach to the other players?
So from scooter sharing days, we've done like 200 million kilometers, which is a lot of kilometers on two-wheeler, right?
Yeah.
So we understand what breaks, what should last longer. And when we started thinking about EV, a lot of these learnings went there. So we took a very fundamental first principle approach on what all will change, because we thought of ourselves as a asset owner, unlike most OEMs who don't think as an asset owner, right? And what will change, because I own the asset. If the technology changes, I should not be in a position because we own the asset, we'll have to scrap it and take a new vehicle, right? So how do we keep the asset relevant and easy to switch to new technologies was our key thinking. So that was our principle with which we kept enough space in the vehicle to have different kinds of batteries. And let's say
what is NMC and LFP?
yeah.
Sorry.
So NMC is a chemistry, nickel, magnesium, cobalt, is a chemistry which, so basically in batteries, it's how do you store energy, and there are a bunch of chemistries. LFP is lithium ferrous phosphate, right? What happens with, in simple terms, the change of chemistry, the ability of a cell to hold energy changes with the chemistries.
Okay.
Few of them are very efficient, which means you can, it's a simple thing, right? As in, let's say you take a glass of this glass, how much water can store depends on the chemistry there. Few of them are energy density wise not good, but they have better benefits. Like LFP needs larger space to hold the same amount of energy which NMC battery has, but it gives 2x life at least, right? Which means cost wise it makes more sense and it's cheaper. Raw materials are available in India, etc. Which means that whenever the chemistries change, the spacing changes. So imagine if you have a scooter, if the size becomes 2x suddenly, where will you keep it? How will the whole ergonomics of the vehicle works? How will the chassis, has the chassis been designed? What happens with two-wheelers is that if you change the weight of things anywhere in the scooter, even by few grams at times, right, based on pressure points, etc., the vehicle can break. So you have to think through on how do you space it, etc. And we kept this in mind. Second, we also felt that different use cases will come out of the vehicle, so you should be able to scale it up in terms of speed, power, or scale it down. So we chose a hub motor principle early in the days, because hub motors you could change the wheel is a motor. In the hub motor, the wheel is a motor. The other philosophy is a mid-drive motor. There will be a motor and a belt which will run the wheel. In our case, the wheel itself will run on its own, right? So we chose a hub motor philosophy, which meant that we could take it up all the way to, let's say, 87 top speed or bring it to 25 top speed, right? By changing the motor itself. So same plant can work and multiple variants can come out.
Sure.
We felt that India is a very diverse use case as well, both from sharing point of view and ownership point of view. There will be people who don't need 80 top speed. They're just happy with the 40 top speed, but need a particular range. So modularity is what we built in our vehicle. Different size of batteries can go in the same scooter. Different speed of the vehicle can be solved in the same scooter. That has helped us a lot. This also helped us plug into other battery swapping networks very easily and do deep integrations with them. So today, the Bounce Daily, we most of these 99% of the scooters are with battery swapping. So we use battery swapping network of other players. Let's say there are a bunch of battery swapping players now, Indofast, Battery Smart, a bunch of these folks. So based on the network strength, we piggyback on someone else's network.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what do you do? How do you recycle or dispose of the dead batteries, if I may ask?
Generally in batteries, there is a second life for stationary energy storage. Mobility needs a particular health of batteries. So after the first life of two-wheelers, the next logical use case is stationary storage. As in, whenever there is excess energy, you can store it like a UPS, right? And send it back, or use it or send it back to the grid. When we started working on batteries early 2019-18, we got a battery done along with the battery manufacturer. And we ensured that they are bidirectional enabled, which means that when I say bidirectional, usually it can store energy. To send back energy also, you need to have that principle kept in mind. So if you have kept the battery design in mind, the second life also becomes easier. It's not like, for example, let's say a car battery also can be used for stationary energy storage.
So how did the idea of battery as a service model come about?
We had 20,000 gasoline scooters running on the roads in Bangalore, doing almost 1 million kilometers a day. So it meant like almost 10 lakh kilometers worth of fuel to be refueled every day, right? In our business model, the scooter was always on the roads and it was not coming back to our hub. And we had people going and refueling or asking consumers to refuel. Mid 2019, we had 50% of the refueling being done by consumers itself. They used to go to a fuel pump, get it refueled and claim a reimbursement from us. There was only one company called Better or something which had tried battery swapping for cars and that shut down. They had raised billions of dollars and that shut down. By then, we had seen power bank sharing in China. So we were like, batteries are nothing but bigger power banks, right? And if you can pick up a power bank anywhere, drop it anywhere, why can't we use the same mom and pop store kind of network in India? And a single battery can be a battery swapping point. We didn't have any automated swapping stations or anything, but we made the battery smarter again. We always felt that the second you invest on a dock and try to make it smarter, you have the cost of the dock, right? So what we did, we put IoT in all our batteries, made sure that the discharge and charge of energy happens on authentication, and we can track.
Yes.
And we went to mom and pop stores. We went to a lot of restaurants. We asked them for space, and we put up a simple rack, gave them a fire extinguisher, and also said these batteries are really smart and safe. You don't have to worry. It could be a pan wala, it could be a restaurant, it could be any small business owner, right? We work with Sangeeta Mobiles a lot then.
The speed at which technology is progressing can leave people confused and intimidated. So what would you say to those feeling this way, especially about the future of mobility?
I think mobility, one fundamental thing is that people have to move, and the problem statement is going to be how do you keep it economical, comfortable, and scalable, right? So I think as long as one focuses on how to move people from point A to point B in the most people-centric way, then I think the problem statement will keep you excited as such. But one good thing also is that the technology impact won't be so drastic on physical things. Right, so the closest thing that we are seeing which might have a big impact is the humanoids and robots, which we think once a particular scale is achieved, the cost of these robots can come down drastically, right? So self-driving, autonomous also is a great thing, but I still feel that most of the technology, let's say Tesla's self-driving for India, probably should be seen more from building efficient taxis without drivers. And not putting more personal cars on the road, right? So I think the problem is so complex. You could pick up any piece of the problem in mobility. For example, how do you bring certainty into someone on the entire commute, right? From taking a walk to a particular station to his first mile, last mile, etc. So there are multiple ways to attack this commute mobility problem. I think most of them can be like a technology independent for now at least. Yeah.
So as a founder, how do you balance innovation with operational challenges, especially in a space as dynamic as mobility?
The way we at least do it is the day-to-day operations is headache of a particular team, and there'll always be a team which will continue to think on how do we eliminate this problem itself, right? So one is how do you solve for this problem. Operation team focuses on how do you reduce costs, how do you make sure things don't break, how do you scale things without this whole solution getting impacted at an efficient cost way, right? While the innovation team will try and see why is this problem fundamentally happening, is there a way to eliminate this? For example, in our bound share days, fueling was a big problem statement. If you send a gig worker to go fuel, there is possibility of pilferage. If there are not enough people, the vehicles will be idle, the vehicles without fuel, etc. All that, right? So the one we did bunch of things around how do you solve them. For example, we built the state-of-art sensors around this. Innovation team focused on how do you make consumers refuel. But another team was working on eliminating fuel scooters itself, right? So we were like, we'll continue to do this. We'll learn. We keep a very open mind saying that with energy, resources, anything can be solved. That has been our approach. So operation team solves for short term and keep the things going, and the innovation team looks at how can we actually build a mode of this problem.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how do you break down the economics in terms of profit? I'm just curious, where are you seeing the highest overheads?
The biggest problem one has to keep in mind is that the vehicle has to sweat over 36 or 48 months, which means the vehicle has to last, which means accidents, thefts, availability of parts, everything plays a very important role. So rental business is all about uptime, as in the vehicle has to be up to earn, and it should last enough longer, right, to get the money out of it. So everything around it is what matters. So back in the days when we were not making vehicles, supply chain was a big problem. Ensuring availability of parts, we had to order in advance, we had to keep it. The cost of parts always was not in our control. Theft and damages was a big concern from sharing business, as in the scooters are always out there. If fuel gets pilfered, that's a big cost. But now, because it's electric scooter and our own electric scooter, the supply chain part is solved for, and we can keep innovating on how do you bring the cost of the material and everything down. Theft, damages, etc. Today, the business we are in, there's a clear ownership on who the user of the vehicle is. So, and also the gig workers usually focus on earning their livelihood out of the vehicle. So we are not seeing that problem today. We have made it more tech-enabled, so the overheads is like very light. Today, because we manufacture the vehicles as well, we have overheads at the plant and other things, which gets normalized at even a very small fleet of like 10,000 scooters. So the full stack approach is helping us a lot.
And what is the benefit of focusing on bigger cities first rather than providing product market fit in smaller cities?
When we are doing sharing business, you need a critical mass of people moving in all directions. And because you build a lot of capabilities there, the city should be able to take at least few thousands of vehicles, at least 10,000 scooters. So big cities give you that
Yes.
opportunity. And also big cities, from a scooter sharing point of view, will have a lot of migrant folks coming into the city.
Yeah.
There's a lot of floating population.
Yeah.
And there is diverse population, right? There is office goers, students, different kinds of businesses, all of that. So
Yeah.
big cities give diversity in use cases also from sharing point of view, which meant that different people use asset in different hours of the day. So we get sweating throughout the day kind of thing. That's how we thought through then. But I'm a big believer of small towns for selling vehicles. But the approach has to be different because the numbers are going to be small. How will you make things work has to be different. But from the businesses that we have built, always big cities have made sense. The sharing business for small towns we did differently because we felt that you don't have to allow pick up anywhere, drop anywhere kind of solution for small towns. We did a Kirana approach where you can pick up a scooter from a Kirana, leave it in any other Kirana stores or intercity also. We did small towns, we went for intercity where there were more kilometers and there was a real problem which was getting solved. We launched scooter sharing back in the days in 8 small towns, Vijayawada, Hassan, Belgaum. All of these places we had small towns, we had a different solution on two-wheeler, but was solving a very different kind of problem for those cities. When we stopped the sharing business in 2022, we have been only into selling scooters and rentals is in Delhi and NCR,
that
Delhi
is
NCR
such-
and Bangalore.
yeah.
But we'll start in all smaller towns. We'll keep a business first approach, what makes sense, what adds value to the user, and then we'll go after markets.
Lovely. So how do you see that this mission evolving over the next 2 years?
One is for gig workers, we will double down. And next, we will also open up for different kinds of use cases.
Okay.
And eventually go towards, again, sharing where you could pick up anywhere, drop anywhere. But because we unlock the vehicle, we can do a bunch of things because we have access to the rider and the vehicle, right? So we will try and leverage the rider. Basically, the way we will think is, can the rider earn more? And can the scooter sweat more? Those are the two lenses that we will keep in mind and work on things.
And expand to more cities too?
Yeah, we will. Delhi plus Bangalore alone can take a lot more vehicles.
Yeah.
We will be mindful on the cities we operate.
Okay.
Probably the top 5-6 cities, and for a different solution that we have in mind, small towns. But probably few cities is where we will do all of this.
What is one lesson you want startup founders to learn from Bounce?
That anyone can do anything. As in, you don't have to have the pedigree. You don't have to. Bounce has shown that you can build mobility companies out of India, which is probably more relevant for India than any other country. So you can take a very industry-first approach, build things which are very relevant, and not be scared of anything. Colleges, degrees don't matter, and as long as you can keep user first and think for the user, keeping business in mind, I think everything else will solve for itself.
That's good.
Yeah.
And looking back, what were some of the defining challenges and turning points in your journey that has shaped your vision for Bounce?
I feel that today the one thing which is very close to all of us at Bounce is that without access to mobility, your options in life gets limited, right? As in today, if you take a maid who wants to make livelihood by cleaning stuff, etc., her ability to earn depends on where she stays and how many houses she can do. So usually because of that disadvantage, she can't take distant jobs even if she wants to, etc., all of that, right? So we feel that any person with mobility will always have flexibility, more access to things, more avenues to things. As in, if you have affordable, scalable mobility solutions, you're opening up a bunch of opportunities for everyone, right? So we keep that lens. We do it on two-wheelers today, but we always put that lens, as in how can you make it more economical, more scalable, more efficient for people.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting problem to be attached to, right? That's what we do. Yeah.
And what personal values and motivations guided you through the ups and downs of Bounce?
We believe that over a period of time we have learned this, both good times and bad times. This too shall pass is something that we'll keep in mind all the time. And also we ask for help. We have found people who naturally come and help us. And we've always broadcasted our problems well. So we are able to attract talent and capital for that. So these things have helped us stay alive and
Focused.
be doing things. Yeah.
How are you going to prioritize, make time for your co-founder relationship as as your business increases and gets busy?
Yeah, co-founders, we keep talking about this, saying that, oh, we have to spend more time together, etc. We have a recurring calendar, etc. All of that as well. But most of the times it doesn't happen. But I think over a period of time, we have built that comfort. The trust plays a very important element. We all know that we put company first, and we don't have to worry about a bunch of things, which that comfort helps us a lot. Each one of us believe that we do what is right for the company. Second, we do try and used to go out for movies back in the days. Now with each one of us getting married, having kids, etc., all of that is becoming lesser and lesser. But even at work, we try and spend time, do things that we love. Varun really loves cooking, so he makes like amazing stuff at his place. He invites us over. Anil and I play Call of Duty on phone at times, right? So
What about disagreements? How do you resolve conflict between yourselves? And
one thing we have figured works is writing it down and commenting on that particular document on why not, etc. And each one of us come with a very different way of looking at things, right? So fundamentally, one thing that three of us are aligned on is we don't shy away from trying things. So we try things with guardrails. We try things which can't kill the company kind of thing. And that has kept us going. So each one of us have a different approach to things. So we try and talk, discuss, debate. A one-pager helps a lot. And yeah, I think most of the times whatever is crazy is something that we'll go ahead and do. So we get some alignment there.
in case this becomes part of your evolution, how would you go about handling a divorce?
I think any separation is very hard, right? So I think it's all about going and being very open about what, why, and probably most of the times it might be from excitement point of view, right? So what if one of us feels something else? There's only so much life, so you want to go out and do something else. So I think it's being open, candid, and planning it out together is what we'll have to solve for if it comes to it. Yeah.
And can you describe your work style? What techniques do you use for personal productivity, and how do you see your role changing as the company starts to scale up?
One fundamental thing that we keep in mind is delegation with can the person do it, has the person done it, and how important it is to the company. So with that, usually find people to do things, empower them, make them owners of it. Most of our time should go on selling the problem statement and find right owners for the problem statement, and then it's periodic reviews and enabling them. So our role is mostly to remove roadblocks and making sure that we are solving the right problems. Is it the right problem to be solving for the company? And keep doing that, right? So we always figure out if the person has context, why are we doing what we are doing, and what are we all going towards, right? How will doing these things will help us get where we want to, and why should we get there, right? So that's, and also keeping a very in-depth understanding of what's working, what's not working, and how to solve it, right? So that's how we see a role overall, but the scale of things might change in terms of number of people who will be there doing things versus how small the team is. But overall, the approach is same. And based on the cycles, whether we are fundraising or scaling, so time gets split between those things. Yeah.
And if your role becomes unavailable entirely, like suppose you get a CEO or someone experienced, what would you want your new role to be like?
Yeah,
Have you thought about it?
I really want to someone to take over the CEO piece, right? I feel that the 0 to 1 things are fun, but after that 1 to 10 is usually a lot of. It's a very different thing that you got to do, right? So I would always prefer a professional CEO coming and probably running things. I will always do 0 to 1 things. We'll run an innovation lab inside, give out small checks to random people and give them problem statements to work on. So innovation lab or accelerator is something that would keep me excited personally, at least.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what impact do you want to have? Is your startup objective getting rich or changing the world?
Over a period of time, we have realized that we have always picked very hard problems, which probability of success is very low. But if it works, definitely it makes a lot of sense for everyone, including the outcome from it, right? But we've always chosen very tough problems. We'll always figure out how to have some money so that we can go out and do wild things. That's how we'll.
And is it possible to build a wildly successful company without burning or damaging other parts of your life, like family? And
I think it's you should ask the spouses about it, right? So most of the times I'm physically there, mentally not available 100%, right? Which is bad. That disconnect is a very hard one. But the pursuit is how do you manage both?
What process or techniques would you use to get most of from your team?
For anything and everything, ask them to put a one-pager on why they think what they think. It brings clarity and it's easy to comment and ask them to think. You can iterate on those documents, etc. I usually ask for a one-pager. But
Also, how important is diversity and inclusion for you? How would you put that into action in business?
I think companies should be seen like a professional team. I read this somewhere. I kind of agree with that like really well, right? It's not a family, but it's like a professional team. So you always have to have the best performing folks so that you win as a team, right? So that's the onus that we have as managers, or when we are hiring, we have to keep in mind that do we have the best team in place, right? That's the only thing which matters. And second analogy I think is think of yourself as a patient, right? Would you let the best doctor work on you, or a diverse or inclusion, right? So I think meritocracy should take over first. A person who's coming from a small town will think very differently about a problem statement because of the way he's brought up, etc. All of that. We would always make sure that our search lens is very wide and it is not pedigree driven, right? So we won't hire someone just because they came out of a particular college or a school or a particular city, right? We would see if the person is fit for the role and have a very big lens on finding people for the role than anything else, right? Than a preset rule.
Would we do a quick rapid fire with you there?
Yeah, sure.
So what was your first ever bike?
Honda Unicorn.
One city you'd love to explore on a bounce scooter?
I think Europe is very nice to go on a scooter, so any European city I guess, yeah.
Charging or swapping, what's your pick in a place where the world is getting disrupted?
Oh, swapping, no? So that you can quickly swap and go.
One mobility myth you wish people would stop believing?
Just making your personal vehicles electric is not going to solve the problem, right? So,
if you weren't building bounce, what would you be doing instead?
energy production, right? As in power generation, right? So I would spend a lot of time on thinking around that.
What's your dream co-rider? Who's your dream co-rider on a Bounce Infinity V1?
Now I think it's my daughter. So I have a 1-year-old. I like going on motorcycle rides, etc. I would want to do all of that with her.
Sweet. What's the weirdest or funniest customer feedback you've ever received?
I have got calls from customers saying that there is no service station or there is no service center. Then I ask the person on why, what do you need? They're like, no, nothing. Just that it's been 6 months that I've taken the vehicle. I want to get it checked, right? I was like, don't you want to be happy that there is no need to service this vehicle, right? So telling our customers that other than brake pads changing, there is nothing to be serviced in the vehicle is a weird thing, right? They're like, but 6 saal ho gaya, abhi to checkup karana hai na, right? So kind of thing, yeah.
What's your go-to song for a solo scooter ride?
During our toughest times, no? So there used to be this Kannada movie. There is one song called Kagadada Doniyali, means you're on a paper boat, right? So that song is something I relate to. There have been many days I've just woken up, gathered strength listening to that song and going to work, right? So
in one word, what does mobility mean to you?
Point A to point B in the happiest way.
What's the most unusual place you've ridden a Bounce scooter?
In the factory. In the factory. I had testing inside the factory.
Pitch Bounce to your grandmother in 10 seconds. Go.
You can pick up a scooter anywhere, leave it anywhere, and you don't own that scooter. That's Bounce.
What's the last thing you Googled?
Weekend I was looking at a public report. Not Google, ChatGPT, but I was analyzing a public annual quarterly report.
Okay.
Yeah.
What book or show are you obsessed with right now?
This book called Courage to be Disliked. As students, as kids, we had read that book. We would have been a very different kind of people.
Really, I'm ordering now.
So Courage to be Disliked and Courage to be Happy, both are like really good. At least I feel a lot of things can be learned from that book.
What was the last best piece of advice you ever received?
There's another founder friend. He keeps telling me self-love. Bro, self-love. As in, don't beat yourselves down. Self-love is important kind of thing. So that's something I keep telling to myself. Self-love, self-love. Yeah.
What's the most surprising thing people don't know about you?
I think always there is a set of people who don't know the other side of this, right? So it depends on who we are talking about, I think. But I think for most of them, in my mind, I'm very like always happy, irrespective of the stress, etc. All of that. I think I'm very, in a way, I'm also disconnected. I feel that everything matters and also everything doesn't matter in a way. So I'm happy that way. So that might come as a surprise for most of them. Yeah.
And what's your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
I like to watch content. So find something to watch. I'm big into content, so any thrillers around spy and other things. So I'm always, that's a very big disconnect for me. I can switch off and think of stories.
What's one life lesson you've learned the hard way?
Ask for yourself as well. While I've been very good at negotiating for the company, I don't ask for negotiate or ask for things that for us. So that also you got to do is what I feel. Yeah, so that's
If you could swap lives with anyone for a day, who would it be and why?
I was thinking about this. So I think it's gonna be with my daughter because she's 1 year old. I want to see what she thinks about things that we do. Right. I want to get that lens where everyone is. I want to see how it feels to be her, and again come back to what I do. Right. So it will also broaden the perspective of life.
If you could wave a magic wand and have a problem go away, what would that be?
I think access to energy, right? Today we have so much efficiency problems, generation problems. If we had access to massive amount of energy, I think as a civilization we will be something else. So that is what I would solve for.
Last question: who's someone outside the startup world who really inspires you?
Top of mind, I think Calvin and Hobbes, right? Or the author as such. Yeah. It's a very fun way of telling things, and I think Calvin and Hobbes are like would have been nice friends to have.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
It was so nice chatting with you, Vivek,
Thank you.
and all the best for your
Thanks for having me.
work.
Thank you so much.
And that wraps today's episode of the Expressions Podcast, where ideas meet action. Thank you for tuning in to the Expressions Podcast today. Stay tuned for upcoming inspiring stories every Friday, exclusively on the New Indian Express YouTube page.